just a quick couple of updates. Wendy, I think we may have talked about her taking over this chamber thing last week as the chair. I said the chamber. She's the chair of the Columbia County Chamber. So um, I drug Wendy into a chamber meeting. I don't know, 2016, and she went reluctantly. There were probably 10 people in that meeting. It was a small business, little, get to know people thing. Go around the table. What do you do? Pitching and all that. She wasn't excited about going to that, but she went because I'm like, hey, we gotta, chamber, we gotta create relationships and all that business. Hey, fast forward the clock to 2022. This lady standing on the stage with 200 people. I'm sorry, 600 people in the audience at the annual banquet where she took over officially as the chair. It was a sight to behold, y'all. I mean, seriously, it was. As she finished her comments, I found myself getting emotional, and I'm like, what is happening to me? What is going on? Why am I emotional? But she was just it was just special. It was historic. I don't know if it was her words, the fact that I was witnessing it, maybe a combination of both, but it was cool to watch. It was really cool to watch. So she'll be in that post for a year. And so the journey has begun. And it started today. They went down to the state capitol building and they're talking, you know, business, states. All right. So, and that really kind of gets us into what we're going to be chatting a little bit about tonight. Um, and I have somebody joining me tonight. I'm going to bring him in here in a second. But I think it's actually fitting that this is the individual that I'll be talking with tonight because honestly, I mean, this is the person who I give credit, blame, I'm not sure, for even making me believe that this crazy idea of going into business was even possible. Of being an entrepreneur when what we grew up in was more, I mean, I was 22 years in the army, and my mom worked for the state. My dad was in the army, then he worked for the phone company for until he retired. I think the only entrepreneur in our family that I can think of was my grandfather, who had a bus line. He had a couple of buses, but while he did that, he actually worked at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard for almost years. And so my family's always been about, security, job security, and you know, and insurance coverage and all that. And so it was easy to fall into that mold. But something kind of happened, and that something kind of changed the whole course of our lives. So I'm gonna bring in the guy who's responsible for even making me think this crazy ride was possible. I would ask y'all to give it up for him, but I mean, can't hear y'all clap. Give him virtual claps or something. My man Ron Harvey down in or up and over. I don't even know, man. Where are you? Like you're in Columbia, South Carolina.
You, I guess
What's going on, Ron?
where you're like 2020.
Hey, man, I cannot hear you. Let me see if I have you muted or something. Get rid of all this extra stuff. Oh, no wonder. Hold tight.
Yeah,
I got you, man. Like I say, I'm the
I think
producer
it's
in this
coming in.
joint. Yep, I got you. The producer's got to get fired in this place, man. We got to fire him. He's
Where's
done.
Wendy? Where's Wendy at?
He's. I mean, she'll be screaming at him too. Like, what's wrong with you? You will never work again in this town. All right, so that's better. That's better. All right, Ryan, what's going on, man? Welcome to the marriage shop, man. I figure, Wendy's not here. You just bring in, one or two of the fellas and have a chat about it.
Yeah, it's good to be here up on the east side of I-20.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
good to be Columbia, South Carolina, and hopefully got some big shoes to fill because Wendy does a phenomenal job. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. And so, I mean, you heard the intro, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes,
and so, you are. I give you credit for not only making us believe this was possible, for even for like giving us some things we needed along the way, some opportunity, some guidance, advice, knocking down some barriers so we could kind of walk through them. But I mean, I think that yeah, man, I blame you. I blame you for all the sleepless nights. I blame you. Yeah, but it's working out okay.
I say yeah, but yet you're still at it, right?
I'm still at it. I'm not quitting now. I mean, we started now. We can't stop. Can't stop. Won't stop. Right? Yeah. So I mean, so that folks can just kind of get perspective who might not know you. I know a lot of folks do here, but just tell them a little bit about who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Yeah, Mike. Ron Harvey, my wife and I own a leadership development firm, Global Core, and we've been in business. Matter of fact, March will make 10 years
Wow.
that we've been in business and really figuring it out. And so I'm sure we'll dive into that because I hopefully you caught my wife and I are in this business together. It will tell you about that journey. But we've managed to build a very successful business over the last 10 years, doing what we love doing, which is creating a winning culture by developing leaders to be the best that they can be to take care of the people they're responsible for. And so we're excited about that. I mean, we love it. We get to travel, all over. We get to do things with people we love, whether it's churches or communities or small groups or school districts. I mean, you name it. We've been afforded the opportunity to do it in all those spaces with people that trust us with developing their leaders to take care of their organizations. So, Linda and I are doing it here. I'm a veteran. I tell people all the time, it's taught me a lot as a veteran how to, have resiliency because it takes that to run a business
Yeah,
because not every day is going to be a good day and you're going
that's
to get
right.
punched in the mouth plenty of days. And you still got to stay pretty positive about, how you recover from that. So I think my time in uniform has helped me and meeting great people along the way, which is where, I got a chance to meet you and Wendy, so I think most of the work we have somewhere in there's some military relationships that's tied to it or introduced me to people, so that
Mm,
was invaluable. So I love what I do. Family man, 3 kids, and 2 out the house and 1 in the home. So really still enjoying watching this 15-year-old grow up.
yeah, yeah. Hey, thanks for that, Ron. And that is, you were you're in the home stretch, man. Again, right? So
Again,
it's
yes.
yeah. So that's amazing. I mean, I met Ron back in 2010, actually for the first time, 2010, and I was coming reluctantly into a new position, very reluctantly. In fact, I had plans. I was getting out. I was going to make my escape. I'm like, y'all can't keep me. I got this all figured out. I'm gonna go home and start making phone calls and all that. And then um, Ron said something to the effect of, "Hey, you know what? We got you covered. We won't let you fail. We're gonna look out for you." And I'm like, "Why? Right? Why? Like you met me? What? That was like one day. One day I was coming down for some because okay. Long story short, my boss wanted me to move like right now. It was like summer of 2010. It's like I can't move right now. She's like, "Well, you need to get down there and get training." I was in D.C. and I had to get to Fort Jackson to get training to be prepared for my new role that I didn't want. And I meet Ron Harvey and folks and but they really did like from day one, just like, hey, we got you. And Ron was like the leader of the pack, like, got you. Don't worry about anything. And I'm like, y'all making this hard for me to to run. And so I decided to stop running and just go ahead and just, submit to the process. And wow, it was I mean, it was really a divine connection. And it's hard to see, at those times, but that was a divine connection, man. God meant for me to be in that place at that time with this team.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, we were there. We needed a person that will come in and take care of the team. I mean, because the team was very functional. It was high performing,
Mm,
and the one thing that it was lacking was leadership. It wasn't
yeah,
lacking anything else: resources, people, talent, potential. I mean, you name it, it was all there. But that goes to show you can have a phenomenal team without the right leader. It's a subpar team.
yeah,
And we're at that point needed someone that would provide overhead cover to take care of the people that wanted to do the job, were excited about doing the job. They were just tired of all of the other things that would get in the way that was not in our lane to address or handle, and so it
yeah.
made us ill equipped.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, man, I appreciate that, and that ultimately, it took me a little while, but it was pretty clear early on that that was my job. Really, like these people were like really talented, like and a team assembled like this very unique team I'd never seen before. And it's like, well, I guess the job is to take some heat and like create a shield, and I'm good at that. I will ghost in a minute. What? Oh, nobody here. What did you call? I don't even know. I don't know what happened. Just to try to create some space for y'all to do what you do, which gave me an opportunity. I think we developed a really good chemistry of working together and really figuring out how to do the job effectively. And so one day we're standing there and we knew that the it was we're fast forward 2.5 years later, we knew it was going to close. Things were shutting down, and I remember this person. I don't remember his name, so I won't even if I did, I wouldn't say it. But Oh, I have to say what team? I'm sorry. So I was the deputy the deputy command psychologist for Army Recruiting Command, and so that job required me to be Army Recruiting Command up at Fort, was it Knox? I guess up at Knox.
Yes. Mhm. Fort Knox.
But there was a satellite, if you will, down at the Army Recruiting and Retention School where every Army recruiter came through to be trained, and so my job was to be at Fort Jackson at the recruiting and retention school in order to lead this team of trainers, executive coaches, and whatnot. And we also created an assessment team as well to kind of make sure that people coming into the recruiting command were psychologically fit to do so. So, and that's like every single recruiter coming in. So I don't know how many that was a year, Ron, but thousands, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
Hmm.
and that job was important. I mean, when I shared what we were really doing in that role, Mike, is all these people that were coming through. They're not just recruiters. We were responsible for all of the senior leaders that were going to lead the entire recruiting command, that were making decisions about people's careers day in
Yeah.
and day out. And so being able to help those leaders make wise choices about taking care of the workforce was huge. I mean, and so
Hmm.
that's where I think you pick up the ability to realize just how important that is, because recruiting command is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, people would rather go on some other duties or deployments versus recruiting duty,
True.
because
Yeah.
it's just one of those careers that is either really really good to you or really really bad to you.
That's true.
And so I think helping those leaders, and even the leaders struggled in that role.
Hmm.
So I mean, the role that you played for us to be able to take care of those people that sometimes we were the one voice in the entire command that they knew they can talk to get the help they needed.
Yep. That's it. That's true. And so, we did that, found a way to help make a difference for some people. And, ultimately it's funny because, there was some things that occurred along the way in recruiting command that prompted me to probably get out a little earlier or a lot earlier than I might have otherwise. And so, but as we get to that into my 2.5 year journey, I remember this retired officer comes through, and I asked him what he did, and he handed me a card. He was a consultant, and I'm like, consulting what? And he does training leaders and all this stuff. And I'm looking at him, I'm looking at Ron, I'm looking at him, I'm looking around. I'm like, Ron, I think you can take him, dog. I think you can take him. Like this guy, come on, really? I mean, I don't know. I think Ron, you gotta go, man. Sorry, fly, man. Spread your wings. So anyway.
It's funny because I mean, and I actually started from there. I mean,
Hmm.
when we had that conversation, and I started thinking what I'm gonna do next. I literally knew then I wasn't going to relocate with the school. I knew that I was going to start a company. I think you threw me to the piranhas though. So
Somebody got to do it, man. I mean,
I think you're
I
like, hey, you go out there and
remember
try to swim. Let me see if you get eaten by the sharks. And
remember me,
if you
heat shield,
survive,
bro. Heat shield. I was tired. I didn't have a whole lot left. I had to get replenish.
I think you push you out there and say, if he survived, we'll be good. So let me see what he does.
Yeah, exactly. Like, bloop. You all right? You good? Okay, we coming. Yeah, that's pretty much how it went.
Yeah, I think that's how it went. Yeah, I mean, but it was that. I mean, we had saw what people were doing, and the potential that we were what we were doing compared to what other people said, and they were doing well. So we're like, man, we can do that. We can do that with our eyes closed. Let's
Yeah.
go. And I said, okay, I'm gonna start this company, and that's when the nightmare started.
Oh, the nightmares. Yeah, those sleep like what? I'm doing this because you were stepping away. You had been in the army what 20 plus years. Then you
Yes.
went to work for the federal government in like I don't know if I can even
Yeah.
say the office,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, you could kind of the trajectory of that, man. Talk about
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I walked away from the army after 21 years, and it's funny because I was trying to find myself and what I was going to do and what I would do, and I ended up working for an organization in DC that worked around EEO and taking care of people and creating equitable opportunities for the workforce. And I ended up working, for that office. Well, actually, I actually worked for that office before that, Mike. I left
Hmm.
and went to work in DC, and then
Hmm.
I came back to it. So it was my second go around, coming back to that office and working again. And it was I learned so much. I will say that I learned a lot about me.
Hmm.
I actually got better working for that office because I've been through a lot of things in the military, but the work that they put us through to be the experts that we became over time, that's what made us really, really good.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
I will tell you that there are better ways to probably do it, but we became very good at what we did.
yes,
And I didn't
agreed.
agree with all the methods, but I will tell you, with that being said, I became really good at what it is that we did.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can vouch for that. And so, I think the process was. I mean, it was kind of it was in effect a weeding out process. I mean, if
Yeah,
you can take the prep, then you could probably show up for the job.
yeah,
But the prep, I mean, I've never, I hadn't been in that intent, as intense scrutiny since. I guess graduate school maybe, but it
yes,
was a different kind of thing, pressure, right? It's just like here, learn all this, come in
yes,
here, deliver, be flawless, go.
yes,
What?
yes.
And that's everybody, no matter where you came in. So that was something.
Yes,
That
yes,
was
but
something.
phenomenal team, and I
Hmm.
credit it to how we operate, and we do operate in a level of excellence now, and that's almost like a standard for like a mission statement for us is
Hmm.
operating excellence at all time, and I think
Yeah.
we've set the bar really really high on ourselves, so I think there's a lot of credit go to making it through that and how well you can be.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the backdrop, right? So Ryan goes into business, about 2 years before we do, um, roughly, and just begins this process. And so I weighed in, and Wendy and I and we've talked about this somewhat on here, where Wendy and I, I was feeling like the spirit is saying, hey, you know what? You probably are done with the military thing. It's time to get out. And Wendy's looking at me, and I share this with her, and she's looking at me like, well, I mean, we got these girls sitting to be in college in a year or two, and Morgan's right behind her. Like, what are we gonna do about this college? What you need to do is go over here and get that job that they offered you over. I've been offered a job or two at that point. If I was gonna get out, and she was like, "Yeah, you need to go. You need to go ahead and do that, and you can do the business thing later." And I'm like, no, I'm not really feeling that. I think I'm supposed to do this. And so that was kind of when our first real clashes around the idea of entrepreneurship, because Wendy is very much a job security person as well, right? She's all about get that regular paycheck, make sure you have your the benefits and the coverage and all that. And I'm like, I don't know, right? And so that was our first clash, Ron. So
Oh
what was
yeah.
it like when this idea came to you? How did it happen with
Oh my
with you and
goodness.
Wendy?
Yeah, so we're at Fort Jackson, and they were relocating, Mike, and I came and I think I shared with you, and I started putting these business cards together and all this stuff, and Fort Jackson was relocating, and I knew I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go, but I would if I had to take care of my family. I would relocate, and I didn't want to go. And I came back and I told Linda, like, look, they're moving, blah blah blah, and she made it easy for me to say, no, tell the organization I wasn't going. She said, no, we're not moving to Fort Knox. We're here.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to Kentucky. I was like, yes. And I actually kind of punked out a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. I kind of went and told them, I said, I can't go because my wife said, we ain't moving. So I let her take the heat round for that one. So
Yeah,
I got into the other road, Mike. I didn't
I'm
even
not
go
mad
back and
at you.
own it. I blame my wife on that one. Like, no, we can't go because my wife don't want to move. But what the Army did in the program is when they take you out of position, they automatically put you on a priority list to get another job, making the same pay and same status, if you will. And that actually had happened. They offered me another position at Fort Jackson, and I had initially said yes to it, but she noticed I really didn't want to do it. So I come home and she's like, "You really don't want that job?" And it was like a Friday afternoon, and she realized, a Friday morning, and she's like, "You really don't want that job?" And I was supposed to start it on a Monday. I said, "No, I really
Mm-hmm.
don't." I said, "But I'll do it until I find something I really like." She said, "Well, just don't take the job. Why don't you just do what you've been talking about, this business thing you've been talking about for a while? Why don't you just start this business stuff up?" I'm like, "Yes."
Mm-hmm.
I was all excited.
So wait a minute, Ryan. Whoa. So you hit it with the sad puppy, Ryan. You went home like, I don't take the job. I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, yes, all of
Got it.
that. Like
Okay.
I was I was pouty around the house, like I don't really want to do this, and she's like,
It's
okay,
okay.
he's sad, so let me let him off the hook, and she said, no, you don't have to take it. So I said, for real?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, yeah, cool. I jump on the phone and call him up and, and tell him, look, I'm sorry, I wasted y'all time, but I'm not coming to work on Monday. I
Wow.
quit before I started,
Wow.
so I turned down the road, which means you can't go back and get it because once you say no, they're not giving. It's done. So
Yeah.
you don't have any other no other privilege you can use. So I turned down the job, and she said, just start the company that you say you want to start. Like, yes, I'm all
Mm-hmm.
excited and 100%, and I do all of that, and I come back and say, okay, I did it, and here's what we got to do, and that's where if we ever had a clash, I would say this was it. She's like,
Oh,
no, no,
okay,
no.
because up until this point, I'm like, wow, this is going really, like really well. I mean, couldn't get any better.
It was
Easy.
going real well.
This
So
easy.
I told Linda, here, I used the word, here's what we have to do. She said, no, no, God told you to start that business. That's what you got to do. I'm not doing it.
Wow, that's hilarious.
I'm like, what?
Slow your roll, high speed. Hold on. All right, that's hilarious. So, well, see, I think we gotta just, gotta highlight that a second because I think that a lot of us have fallen into that trap. I have
Yes,
a great idea, and we can do this, right? And it's like we go in, and the expectations are set, and all that, and so yeah, I mean, I think that is good that because a lot of people don't pump the brakes at that point. They don't like call the timeout and say, wait a minute, right? They just go
yes,
get or get drug and don't say anything until much later down the road.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's important. I tell people, because we laugh about it, and we laughed about it then. Some people end up in divorce over it,
Mm-hmm.
or marriage messed up over it, or feeling like your spouse don't have your back, or the argument starts, or your love life changes, or who's going to cook. And I mean, it's just a lot of things that can come from that if you don't do the thing that's best for both people. And
Yeah.
she was absolutely right, but I think a lot of people take the wrong course of action, and it
Mm-hmm.
works totally against them. So I think that part is important, and I share that because that's what you got to be really mindful of. We did have different roles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And so how long did it take? Because I know because you told everybody like she works in the company with you now. So
Yes, yeah.
how did you get from like nah that was your idea to now there's this partnership that exists.
Well, the first thing I did at that point is when she first said it, Mike, I said, okay, let me allow my wife to be who she needs to be, and let me not force her into a corner. I had to mature and grow up real quick, and that had to be a statement that happened like rapidly. It wasn't like a
Mm-hmm.
week later or 2 weeks later. I had to do that immediately for her because I wanted her to still be happy and supporting me, even though she wasn't ready to be in the business. So, I mean, I did that real quick, immediately after she said, okay, I get it. So let's make some decisions of how I can have support in the business. So the very next thing we did is, since she couldn't do the stuff or didn't want to do it at that moment, we figured out what help I needed, and we actually put some people in a position to help me out. So that was the very next thing because she didn't want to see me fail. She just wanted a break.
Yeah.
So that was important for her to say, okay, well, let me get someone that can help you until I'm ready. And so she took about a year before she really was up to speed and wanted to spend time with our daughter, who was pretty young. So she took a year, and then she finally came to me. And she said, hey, I think I'm ready to do something in the business. And of course, me, I say, hey, that's awesome. How about be the president? How about be the owner? And let me take the back seat. So I jumped out of the ownership seat real quick, and Linda
Mm-hmm.
became the president and CEO. Me and
Mm-hmm.
Lily, and it sounds easier and it's not. It wasn't complicated, but it happened fast, and it just took a lot of understanding and trust and communication.
Yeah, see, so about that. So yeah, I mean, yeah, my mine is and I know it's never like clean and smooth and everything as it may appear, but ours was bumpy, y'all. And Wendy, she might be on the road right now. Let me see, sir. She might be checking in, so I don't know if she gonna come and truth check me on this or not. But for now, I got the platform. She be on, but no, but I think she would agree. Bumpy, like initially, it's nah, we don't need to do this. We need to do something that's a bit more secure and stable. Got past that, and that's an entirely different story that we'll take some time to really sit down and just unpack that in detail because it was a divine moment. It was a spiritual encounter that really told us, yeah, this is the direction, right?
Yeah,
But we and Ryan, in fact, it's not right to just to put it out there, Ron, without like we talking about it next week. We may not talk about it next week. We might as well just say it now. Just say it now, Ron. Just all right. I'll set it up. You can finish. We get so.
go ahead.
All right. So here we go. We were like in I was actually on the tail end of my tenure at the job, and I had to go train somewhere for some amount of time. I forget where it was, but While I was gone, we've been working on training for our own team because we figured, we're out here telling people, trying to, work on their leadership and working themselves and everything. We need our own work, and so we hired a company to do that. And Ron actually took the lead and grabbed them and kind of brought them in and told them about our organization and all that. When the training happened, which I did not attend, but he created a relationship with a team out in Seattle, and so sometime in the next year they invited, when they found out Ron was in business, they invited him to come, and they just, well,
It
I
was
want
all
to get
about
ahead of
faith.
myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
I
all
want
about
to.
faith, Mike. I mean, you think about the trip when we brought them in. I just happened to, go by, all faith. I wasn't supposed to go by the hotel. I said, let me stop by the hotel on the way in, just to check and see if they need anything. And the presenters needed a ride. I'm like, well, I'm headed that way. I'll be happy to give you a ride. And the conversation just started like, hey, so what do you plan to do in the next year or whatever? I'm like, I actually want to do what you're doing. So it had to be all faith because I wasn't supposed to pick them up. Didn't know they were
Mm-hmm.
going to start the conversation, and the conversation started like literally just by me going by and wanting to be a helpful hand. And they said, "Hey, what do you plan?" I said, "I really want to do you do," and I'm watching and observing, and they open the door and say, "Well, if you really want to do this, God's told me to show you how to do it." And they literally opened up the door, and I thought, and they said, "Well, and you could bring someone with you." And the first person came to mind was you and Wendy. Like, okay, I got some people. I'm all excited about it. So that's really how that happened. All faith, nothing that was orchestrated, couldn't have
Yeah.
planned it that way if we wanted it to, with some people that were of faith, that were willing to share. Because not all entrepreneurs will share the secret sauce.
Yeah. Yeah, man, tell me about it. And so when that call came, and we were already in our little thing, and so it was like, yeah, we're gonna go. We decided mutually we go. Prayed about it before leaving. We were in Virginia, dropping my kids off with my mom on the at the waterside, in Virginia, downtown Norfolk, and man, and the prayer was just, God, reveal us what we need to do, right? Because there was this tension that was existing at that point, and just show us, like, we're praying that through this trip you're going to reveal something to us. And hopped on a plane, met the Harveys in Seattle, and wow, like the first thing the first thing that and she said was, oh, was it, she walks in, and she sits down at the breakfast table. She says, we are on a covert mission, is what she said. I believe we're on a covert mission. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, we believe that biblical principle works for everybody, even if they don't even know that's what they're following. The first thing she said, and I'm like, well, this is gonna be a whole different kind of couple of days right here. And, oh, I saw you, Michelle Bourne Wilson. Welcome, welcome. Hey, look. So yeah, hey, look. So man, after that, I've never. It was like a whirlwind, but dinner stands out because we go to dinner, right? That next even, I guess. And one of the women that is affiliated with this company, she sits down. I don't even. I mean, she spoke and then she just started talking. We didn't know this lady. She just started talking, and it is as if she was direct connect to God. Like, getting every concern that we had talked about and prayed about and were concerned about, she spoke to all of it. It was uncanny. It's the first time I've ever had an experience like that. It was crazy.
Yes, yeah, and she spoke directly to Wendy and to Linda.
Yes.
And she held. I mean, and that was experience, and that was this. I'll tell people, like, it was the challenge of, if you're really going to do this, you need to be able to hear what needs to be said versus getting caught up in it. So she challenged, like, something that I was really passionate about, a business card. It's simple, and I was in love with it, and she challenged it in real time right there, and that was my opportunity to say, can you hear about your business, which is your baby, basically. So she pretty much told me my baby was ugly, and I had
Yeah.
to accept it, and I had to get over it. So in the heat of the battle, in front of my wife, she told me our baby was ugly.
That was something. That was a moment right there. I'm like,
Oh,
oh
it was a
boy,
moment.
if the wheels are gonna come off, this is the moment the wheels come
Yeah,
off. Yeah, that was funny.
and and Mike knows this, but I'll tell you, that was a moment that I had to regroup, recover, get through it, and do well. And Mike said, "Man, you okay?" I said, "No, I'm not okay." she told my baby ugly in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And so I think we went to Walmart and walked around
Yep.
to take a
Debriefed a
break.
little bit,
Yeah.
exhale a little bit
So
in
anytime you
Walmart.
stress, walk through Walmart.
That's it. That's it. But
But
yeah,
we came
but
back. We got it
mhm,
together. We came back, and Mike was with me. And I didn't think I didn't know Linda and Wendy went up to Walmart with us, or they just hung
yeah.
out with the ladies, or at the hotel or something. I think it was just you and I. And
Hmm.
we got back together, and we came back stronger than ever.
Hmm. Yeah, because as difficult as it was to even sit through that moment with is kind of going
Yes.
back and forth about this card and this logo and all that, um, it was clear to me that God had spoken, and more importantly, it was clear to Wendy that
Yeah.
God had spoken because she says all that, and then as we're walking away from the dinner table, and I don't know if she ate. This lady literally sat down and just
Yes.
started flowing, right? And so we get up and she gets behind Wendy and she leans over toward her ear. She was like, she said, just say yes, girl. It'll be all right. I was like, oh, what? I'm like, what is going on? It was crazy. And so
Yes.
that at that moment, boom, tension breaks, right? Because Wendy she knows, like she knows what we prayed, she knows what we've been talking about, and she experienced this moment, and at that point, the initial tension broke, and we were able to get momentum.
Yeah, I think, and Linda found herself there at that thing, Mike, because Linda came in. If you know, when she asked Linda what her role was, she said, "I'm just here to support him. I'm in back office and behind the scenes." And she told Linda that she said, "You're more than behind the scenes."
Yeah, yeah, that
She
was a
said,
moment.
yeah, so that was a moment for Linda where she said, "No,
Mm,
you're more than behind the scenes, and you need to prepare for that." And that was a moment for Linda to, and I think all of us had our opportunities to, even to the name of our company, when she said, "Yeah, you're supposed to be global."
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
everything
yeah,
about your name, you're supposed to be. She said it makes sense. She said the only thing doesn't is your business card, but
yeah,
but everything else it's exactly what God is telling you to do.
yeah. That's in fact, Ron. Yeah, because I think that I got the sense right because she's saying like your card says global, but I don't think that. I mean, it's there, but it's almost like she pulled from you, like you weren't
Yeah,
really thinking global. It's like it's a
yes,
cool name,
yeah,
but
that's exactly what it was. I
yeah,
mean, and it came out. She said, "No, just tell me." And in those moments, I'll tell you, as an entrepreneur or as a spouse, or you and your spouse in business together, there has to be some moments of complete transparency. And I know people think that everybody's fully transparent in marriage, and that's not true. It was
hmm,
you had to be completely vulnerable and transparent in that moment if you're going to make this business work. And I say no, I just thought it was a cool name. I put some words together and I threw, and it looked good. It sounded good. It was cute. And she said, "Yeah, but cute is not what this is about." And she
yeah,
was really what I needed to hear. I don't think I would have heard it anywhere else. I mean, it was
yeah.
from a complete stranger that just had to be spoken to someone higher than me, and someone that didn't know any of us, because she wasn't well briefed on our businesses.
No, she wasn't. She was not. And so I think it's such an important lesson. I mean, I think that moment, what I took from that moment was like my discernment. Like, there's a lot of people that say a lot of things, but when God is sending you a message, sometimes that message is as clear as anything, right? And there was no other explanation for what it was other than this person in that moment was divinely given like what she needed for the people at the table who she did not know. Had I think we spoke to her earlier for like 5 minutes when we kind of went through where her office was.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of that is I never looked back after that meeting. I never
Mm-hmm.
second guessed what I was supposed to do. I just began to do the work and pray about it and stay connected and put people around me. And she says, this is what you're supposed to do. And I began to just be really obedient to listening to what that was. And I'm not going to tell you that there wasn't any sometimes concern or I never doubted that it was going to work. I was always saying, okay, God, you haven't shown it to me yet. But I never at that moment because people always ask when I share stuff, they're like, but you make it seem easier than what it is. I said, I didn't tell you it was easy. I'm
Yep.
making it sound easier than it is. I
Yeah.
can say I was never concerned about the success of the business after that.
Yeah.
I just never lost sleep over it. I just knew the business was going to work. I had work to do, but I never doubted that it was going to fail. I never said it was going to fail.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was important. It was great. It was a great example to kind of follow in. I mean, because we were close enough to be kind of like trying to walk in footsteps, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I have to say, like, so we knew, okay, yeah, this is it. It's going to be the thing, right? But at that time, Wendy was still working for the VA because when she retired, she immediately went in. I say immediately, took I think a month or two, and then went and started working for the VA. Again, security,
Yeah.
right? It is, that paycheck is coming whether you go to work or not, and we got extra benefits as if we needed more. We got a lot of benefits. So she was comfortable with that, but I went to her one day. I'm like, hey, I think it's time for you to, can you, I think we can do something special together, is what I told her. Like, if you were totally all in. And so I asked her if she would leave that job. And so, oh, it's Sabrina Griffin. So if Sabrina Griffin is on, Sabrina is where Wendy is, which means they might be in transit, which means, all right, y'all, the detail, everything I told y'all is true. If Wendy pops in here, everything I've said is true. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, so I asked Wendy, hey, would you consider just, doing this with us? Because we can be special. And she was like, hey, are we gonna eat? I'm like, yeah, we're gonna eat. I'm like, I don't know what we're gonna eat, but let's go. And she did, right? And so it was like, wow. And so boom, there off we went. I think though, from the beginning, what I didn't do effectively is the expectation management, right? What specifically is your role going to be? What's my role going to be? We never really worked together like that. We were in the Army parallel for years, never worked together like that. So the tension that followed, that those days were like, it was all about roles and expectations. I thought when we retired, I envisioned in my head like, yeah, we get up, maybe Wednesday will be Cracker Barrel day. We get up 7 o'clock, hit Cracker Barrel, with the Cracker Barrel folks.
It was Cracker Barrel. It was a business meeting.
Right? Exactly. Do a little business meeting, Cracker Barrel, get some pancakes and some coffee, come on back in, do our thing. It's like I had a certain rhythm in my head. I had certain, expectations about roles and who was going to do what and who, all that. Or we'll just jump in and we'll do it all, and how we prepare talks and all that stuff, man. And
Yeah, see, Linda had that mindset. Linda had the mindset of what you're saying when she retired, what she was going to do, and she never had any idea. And she's on board, but that first year, she's like, "No, I ain't know any of that. I'm retiring.
yeah.
I'm gonna take the baby to school. I'm gonna be an Uber. I'm gonna be a
Mm-hmm.
soccer mom. I'm not doing any of that. I'm gonna get up when I feel like it." And so
Yeah.
all those things of what retirement was to her was different than what it was for me. I'm like, "Yeah, but we can do this and we can do that." And she's like, "Yeah, but no,
Right.
you go ahead and do that."
Yeah. Like, remember your idea, remember? Yeah.
Yes,
So, yeah.
yes.
Wow. So that, how do you how do you reconcile the role thing, like, so that, because you said earlier, well, I just leave it at that. How do you reconcile the role thing?
Yeah, I think you really got it for us. Here's what's worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Is I I truly believe I wanted to make space for my wife to be what she felt she needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that was in the company or not in the company, the one thing I did know for sure, Mike, is I wanted her to be my wife before my business partner.
uh yeah, bro, that's good.
So
You
that
repeat
was
that for
more
the people in the back, man. Say that again for the people in the back.
yeah, I mean, I had to get to the place where I wanted her to be my wife more than my business partner. And that helped me because they're just, at the end of the day, I did tell her, if you're never my business partner, I want you to always be my wife.
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
and and which meant that once we can get past that stage, that we can grow it. And she appreciated the fact that I was cool with that. I understood that, and what we were here for is husband and wife. And if we happen to be in business together, and it worked well and it made sense for us, we would do it. But no matter what, we were going to be husband and wife, and the business wasn't going to make or break us.
Yeah. Oh, it's Wendy. Hey, what's up, baby? Where are you? Probably out on the interstate somewhere. I don't know how your signal is. Hey, jump on in here if you want to. But if not, I got you. I sent you the link, by the way. But yeah, Wendy Perry, good to see you, girl. Welcome to Marriage Shop. But what you said, man, that is so critically important, because we get caught up in the idea and the vision and the business, and then you kind of lose sight of what's really important, right? You lose because you want, so generally the person that decide I'm gonna step out and I'm putting my all my eggs in this basket. That person is going to be very focused on that basket. It's going to be very focused on those eggs, whichever part of the metaphor that fits in. But y'all get what I'm saying. It's like you want that thing to succeed. You don't want to fail, and you want to eat, and all these things. And so it can be get really easy to get caught up. And if anybody's ever worked for me, I have a tendency to get caught up. I mean, I will dive in head first, and it's like, where'd he go? I don't know, man. He's been down there a long time. Is he coming up yet? Right? I will get caught up, and so and those habits are very hard to break. I mean, if it's what you've done, it's very difficult to break. And so I would have a tendency early on, especially, to get caught up.
Yeah,
Oh,
that would be
hey,
good.
hey, Wendy.
Hello. Hey.
Hey,
So I can't stay
What's up?
long. Yes, I'm on
okay.
the bus, but I just wanted to come on and just tell you that I love you and I'm proud of you for going forward. Ron, thanks for jumping on and joining him on the marriage shop. I hear y'all talking about the collision of entrepreneurship and marriage. And yeah, that's definitely something. So I miss you. We are on the bus and we're heading back a little early. So I will see you soon.
All right. Hey, love those glasses, baby. You're looking good right now. Yeah, I must say.
So thank you. I'll let you know how it went. So
All right,
you
can't wait.
guys keep doing what you're doing and remember I'm listening.
I know you
Love
are,
you.
baby. Love you too.
Bye.
All right. Don't mess around and get muted, baby, now.
And that's, and,
Yeah.
and that's when the fight started. You muted me.
Yeah. It's either to go ahead and throw a little bit of that out there. She's hitting the click button and she can't unclick. So yeah, but yeah, man, like the marriage. And so there have been several times where I've had to remind myself it's about the marriage. The business, I mean, we're two military retirees. We should be okay, regardless of anything, right? And even if we weren't going to be, if the business was going to kill our marriage, then we need to kill the business first and find something else to do if it's going to cost
Yeah,
our marriage, right?
yeah, I agree with him, Mike. And regardless of whatever it is that you're going into with your spouse, and it has to be entrepreneurship, which I tell people is a beautiful thing if it's run well.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I mean, entrepreneurship it gives you all of the luxuries of living the life you want to live if you're putting in the work where you got to put the work in at. And
Yeah.
so, for my wife and I to be in business and doing what we're doing, we really get to live the life that we want to live.
Yeah.
Without having to say it's an 8 to 5 or a 9 to 5 or got to take vacation time to get off or go to a doctor's appointment. There's just
Yeah.
so many things that's afforded to you, and it requires you to have really solid people around you to start
Mm-hmm.
with your spouse, whether they're in the business or not. One of the things that people tell me, Mike, all the time is, I'm at an advantage because I have a spouse that's in the business, understands the business, and wants to be in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them they're absolutely correct. That's where we are now. Because not
Yeah.
everybody's spouse is there. There's some
Yeah.
people's spouse want nothing to do with the business for a variety of reasons. And that's just not the story I have. My story is like she's totally engaged and involved. Linda runs the business now. Like Lily
Mm-hmm.
runs the entire business. I mean, does stuff that I don't do and don't want to do and I'm not trying to learn how to do. And she's phenomenal at it. But I will tell you what helps us. We both know what we owe each other and we don't use honey. I didn't get that done. We can't use the sweetie pie language to not do what I got
Mm-hmm.
to do for her, and she doesn't do it, to not do what she got to do for me. We really
Yeah.
follow through and do what we're supposed to do for each other.
Yeah. 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 You all do. And I think that that's really so important. Like figuring out if you're both gonna whatever it's gonna be, if you're both gonna be in it, if one person just decides, hey, that's not what I want, right? Because that again, those ideas and that vision, and people are like, yeah, we're supposed to be doing this. Well, if she or he does not get the message that they're supposed to be in it, maybe that's not what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
One of the most difficult things for me to do was to back off and allow her to figure it out. It really
yeah,
was because when I have ideas, and I got I'm like, yeah, I ain't got time. Let's go. Like here, do anything, do something. Like, but if it doesn't fit, then it's a grind. And so being an entrepreneur, it's a grind anyway. But it doesn't have to be painful, if that makes sense, right? Because if you have passion and if you have the love for what you're doing and you understand the purpose of it, it can be hard work, but it doesn't feel like hard. If it you just the day just goes by, and if you it can fall into that zone. And Ron is right. The what an entrepreneurship affords. Last year, it was bananas by even like my it was crazy, Ron. Like just the type of flexibility we had, and COVID actually gave us got everybody all equipped. so that you can work from anywhere, and people are doing it. So we were all over the place, Ron. Like I don't know how many miles we logged, but we were just literally it was crazy. You can't do that with a 9 to 5, right? But we got to that place because I had to. Summer 2020 is where things kind of came to a head, and it's like there was too much tension. I'm like, what is going on? We were kind of doing this. I'm like, what is the problem? And it was very clear. God said to me, and people say God said to me. The Spirit said there was something that very clearly said you need to go and apologize to her. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. You need to go and apologize to her, right? And be quiet. That was it. That was the instruction. Apologize, be quiet. And I'm just like, okay. So I go and I apologized to her. And Wendy said freedom. Yeah. And I apologized to her, right? And I remember, and I tell the story a lot, so Wendy can check me on the details. But I probably apologized to Wendy about 11:30, and it was basically, I'm sorry, not because I didn't believe I had done anything wrong, but clearly I had not created an environment where we could easily work through whatever we were going through at that time, tension, and I was helping to maintain it. So I apologize for not creating the space where it was possible for us to get where we're supposed to get. And then she started talking. I thought she would be like, "Oh, I forgive you. It's all good." But she started talking, and she talked, and she talked, and she talked, and she talked. I told you it's like 11:30. Literally, she talked until the sun came up. I mean, the light was beginning to shine through the through the blinds, but it wasn't until then. And I think it was all me because there were several times when she was talking, I wanted to be like, "Nah, that's not true," or
Till
this,
5
that, and the
a.m.
third. Or
Early.
see, I told you five. It was like summertime. Yeah, 5 a.m. It's like sun starting to come up, and I wanted to fight. I wanted to push back. I wanted to explain. I wanted to do all this stuff. And and around 4:45 is when my apology became real because I realized like, wow, my job is to just love her, right? That's the only job. All the rest of this stuff, I mean, what does it matter, right? If we're all at each other's throats. My job was to love her and to just get out of her way. And by the way, in that same prayer, I was praying. I was like, God, I think because she was CEO at that time. I said, I think I'm supposed to be CEO, and she should be doing this board thing, and because she was a member of several boards. And I'm like, I think that's her sweet spot. That's where she should be. But at that time, when you're in a tense moment, you don't want to be like, hey, baby, why don't you step down from the CEO spot, and I'm gonna take that, and you go do, right? Because the timing felt off. I felt like I couldn't just say that, and so I guess got to leave that alone. But when I tell you, at 5 o'clock a.m., she says, as she's wrapping up her comments, and this is what I think we should do. She said, I think you should be the CEO. I'll stay on these boards. Blah, blah. There was like a third thing I prayed for. I don't remember what it was. But again, it was another moment where the Spirit was just like, bam, boom, boom, boom. And she literally spoke the thing I had prayed a day before.
Yeah, I think in that conversation, Mike, it's important for us to remember that he says, I won't leave you or forsake you. And this is those moments of confusion that you doubt both of those statements.
Mm-hmm.
That you get caught up in you get caught up in what you want and how you feel and what you're going through. And if you just be obedient and be still, it works itself out. And I think the struggle is most of us, especially if you have an entrepreneur spirit, you're so used to getting things done with your own skill set, with your own knowledge, with your own wisdom, and with your own passion. And this doesn't work in your relationship. The one thing that I always say, and if especially for the guys, one thing I had to figure out as Linda was navigating and figuring out what was important for her, I knew that it was my responsibility to make her feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't make her feel safe if I'm the one that's making her feel like she's unsafe.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay.
And so some of the things that I wanted, if I had to put her in that position, it would have made her feel insecure. It would have made her feel unsecure. It would have made her feel unsafe. And if my function is to protect her, which is one of my responsibilities, I can't be the one causing harm.
Yeah, man. That's good.
And I own that. I was okay with that. Like, okay, as much as you may have to work, she still has to feel safe. As much extra stuff you may have to do and get other people, you did say you would protect and provide. So I need you to still, in your worst moments, she deserves your best love.
Yeah. Come on, Ron. Are we recording this? Yeah, we are. Yeah, man. Oh, that's so good. That is so good. It is. Um, it's easy to lose sight, man, when the pressure hits. And if you jump on this entrepreneur ride, oh, it's gonna be some pressure, right? There'll be
Yes.
some days where you wonder, like, you have some expenses like out here, like in the next day, next week, 2 weeks, you got like a couple of days worth of money in the bank. You waiting on those invoices to get paid, all that stuff, and
Yes.
it can if you're not really solid in where you are in your relationship and like in the decisions that you've made, then it can really um, be insidious and really plant, some really troubling seeds in your relationship.
Yeah, and I think your relationship will actually help you succeed in it if you got a really
Mm,
strong relationship of having open conversations and dialogue about
yeah.
what it is that needs to happen. Because I will tell you that for me, my spouse sees more in me than sometimes I'll recognize. She said, "No, you're good at this." I mean, so Linda was very good at on pointing out why I should start the business. She
Hmm.
saw it happening all over, and I'm like, "Yeah," and I would literally minimize it. And she said, "No, you can do this. You can do. I watch what you're attending, and I watch what you do." Matter of fact, Linda bought me my first ticket to go watch Steve Harvey talk about
Hmm.
business. It was a gift. She said, "Well, why don't you go to this if you're going to do this business thing? Go and I went up to DC and went to go to watch Steve Harvey and then I went to another conference. She said, why don't you go out to Arizona and watch this other lady that's doing it?" So I went out there and I'm like, okay, I can do this. So everything that I needed, she kept encouraging and supporting me to go learn it.
Yeah.
She said, "You got your what you do well." But my wife put me in position to learn what I needed to know to run a business because I didn't know how to run the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everything that came up to help me, she kept putting me in position. Hey, go do this. Let's invest the money. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that for like where this collision, you begin to realize that the collision is now on the same course and we're going in the same direction. We both agreed if we fail together. If we win together. And
Yeah.
I can remember when I had to go to, I went to this program, Mike, and phenomenal program, and the woman and Angelique had a bunch of stuff I needed to know. And Angelique, we out there in Arizona, and she's trying to get me to sign up for this program to learn everything I needed to learn. And she had a nice program. And she came and said, "Well, Ron, you need to join us." And I didn't know her. I'm like, "Oh, nah." And I said, "Well, tell me how much it costs." She said, $19,000. You done lost your mind.
We don't just drop 19K just like that.
19,000.
What are you
Yeah,
talking
right.
about?
You're
Yeah.
crazy. This lady done lost her mind. So I get on the phone, I'm complaining to Lynn, blah, 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 like spilling all my feelings. She done lost her mind and blah, $19,000. She crazy. Man, everything went through my head, about $19,000 to teach me how to do something that I thought I didn't know. I already knew I didn't know, but I didn't see $19,000 worth of.
Yeah.
And I did that for 2 days while I was out there. And the third day, Linda called. She said, "So what did you decide?" I said, "I've been made my decision." And she challenged me at that moment.
Hmm.
She said, "Well, do you know it?" I said, "Nope." "You got somewhere else to get it from?" I said, "Nope." "Write the check." That's the end of the
Hmm.
conversation.
Wow.
And I had never made that kind of personal investment into my own, which was odd because as I thought about it after I did it, I had invested into other people like that, but I had never invested in me like that. And I
Yeah.
never betted on me at that level. And she said, "Just do it. You need it. We got it. Stop complaining and write the check."
Yo. So, yeah, are we all catching the irony here? Like, it was his idea, right? Remember that? It was your idea. But she comes around at a really critical moment because sometimes support is like, go do it.
Yeah.
Like, either you can do it or maybe you need to, because that was another real moment. Like, do you know what she knows? No, you don't. Okay, where you gonna get right? I mean, that to me
Yeah.
that's what support looks like, right? So, and that's good. I mean, and because in this you're gonna have to make some investments, and though you have to be good on the investments that you need to make as a couple, right? Because you can't just run off and do your own thing. Not ideally anyway. So yeah, that's good right there, Ron.
Oh yeah, and I think that's what brought it full circle for us. And I'll tell you, it began to help us do having a supportive spouse, and someone said having a supportive spouse, and support don't mean that they work in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Support don't mean that they're even a part of the company. I mean, so their support can be in multiple ways. Sometimes I had to get away. Support had to be her having a specific functional role, and
Yeah.
that wasn't the case, and it doesn't have to be the case. So if you're in this, it doesn't mean that your spouse can support it. Like Linda will probably never pick up a microphone and speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's not her personality. It's not what she, and that'll be a place where I'm not protecting and taking care of her. If she chose to do it, I would like absolutely go for it. I'll support her. But she's already said, "Hey, look, don't. That's not what I want. So don't hype me up to be that." So
Yeah.
support. I think you need to pray about what support is, and I think
Mm-hmm.
you need to accept whatever that is versus try to force feed what you want and what you need. And your spouse may be very talented in what you need, but they may not want to do that thing that you're asking for.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't get to decide. A lot of times I think we'll be like, man, you're good at this. I mean, of course, and we'll work that into our own plans. And so really important to just create that, because and when you're forcing and pulling and tugging or pushing, that doesn't create safety either.
No,
And
no.
so what I'm hearing tonight, I jotted down a couple of things. I won't put them in the captions because y'all know the producer over there slacking because Wendy's not here. So I'm gonna just read off a couple of things I captured tonight. So if you need to hear this again, catch the replay. But one of the first things I wrote down as we kind of walk through this is to listen to the spirit. And how do you hear the spirit? You have to be in the word. You have to pray. You have to like stop and create time to hear what God is saying, because he may be saying it in ways maybe you haven't heard before. And so it's important to be able to hear the spirit, listen to the spirit. Believe God, right? If you've gotten that little whisper yourself about what you're supposed to do, believe that God is going to come through and deliver on what it is he's told you to do. And he's going to bring you through it. If it were easy, anybody would do it. So anything that you do that's worth anything is probably going to be challenging at some points.
Yeah,
But you
Mike, I'm
have
there.
to stay the course. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, Mike, as you talk about the listening to the spirit may not be your best friend or your girlfriend or your brother or your cousin or your mama or your father or your pastor. We went all the way out to Washington State
That's right.
before we heard the spirit from someone we had no clue who they were. So
Yeah.
sometimes we call up all the people that are close to us and we convince them to say something to us, and then we claim it was the spirit
Yeah.
because it comes from someone we know. So you just never know where that voice is going to come from, and it may not come from the people that you expect it to come from.
That's right. That's right. And so that's why I've learned, man. I'm just kind of I try to say an empty vessel, like always ready, willing to receive something, and never get to the point where I can't hear anybody, right? Because I think as a business owner, that's a problem too. When you think you know it all, is when you probably done, right? And so there. Thank you, Wendy, for putting those in the chat. Listen to the spirit, believe God, value transparency, even when it's uncomfortable, because you will be stripped naked, figuratively speaking, if you go into business. You will be. It just has to be that way. So what's going on, how you feel about it, all those things got to be on the table, right? Because otherwise, you're exerting energy faking. Why fake? And particularly with your spouse. So like there are moments when you just gotta. It's just okay, boom. It kind of like it was modeled for us, and it's kind of a different context, but we went out there and they opened up every. I've never seen anything like that before or since. They opened it all up. How they made money, who they made money from, formulas and documents, and it was over the top, right? And so
Yeah,
that level of
yeah,
transparency. Go ahead.
for people if spouses are doing business, the one thing I'll say that's important in this space is money has to be complete transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that's in this company, there and I say that because there are couples that have separate accounts, personal accounts.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother topic for you and Wendy to take on. You
Mm-hmm.
can't afford to have a separate account in the business.
That's
You
right.
literally have to be in this together, and you have to know about every contract, every penny, every investment, every marketing, like wherever money's coming and going,
Yeah.
both people got to be in invested in it. And some people struggle with it. They're like, well, they ain't in the company. Well, but they're still your spouse.
That's
And if
right.
they are in the company, but you got to keep your spouse invested, engaged in all the numbers.
Yeah, 100%. Because they deserve to know, right? They should know. If the two of you are one, like you can't navigate this together. Like you win, you lose, whatever. It has to be together because it's gonna be together anyway, whether you like it or not, right? So yeah, I thank you for that one, Wendy. The last one is to create safety. And that safety comes by not forcing, not imposing, communicating, right? Seeking collaboration. Not the word I'm looking for. What is it, Ron? Not advice, but just sharing in everything,
Yes.
right? And because the transparency and that sharing, that helps to create safety, not forcing somebody into something they don't want to do. And this is for all of you all, and I know you're listening, and we're actually, Ron, you know what, I'm gonna post this on LinkedIn too, actually, because there are some people that need to hear this. You have plans for your spouse, you had it all figured out, and it's like, yeah, this is what it's gonna be, and your spouse is like, nah, I don't think that's me, and you're trying to force them right now, right? And I think what we're saying is you can't do that. You have to allow them to find it. And if it's meant to be, they'll find it. But you can't ram it down their throat.
Yeah, because and the reason that's so important is everybody has their own purpose that they were born to be. And because I'm born to be your spouse, don't mean I'm born to be your business partner.
Hmm.
And you can't force that upon me just because it may sound good, it may look good, and it may actually work out at the expense of your marriage.
Hmm.
If that's not what they're supposed to be, you got to make a decision that you really married them to be your spouse. And I say that was the first thing I had to do is allow her and make space for her to be my spouse, whether she was my business partner or not. I made a promise that, I'd rather be married to you than you to be in business. If that's what it's going to cost me, I don't want it to cost me that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, Ron. And so we could do more, but I already got your overtime, man. I can't afford your overtime rates. So I can't afford your like regular time rates. So man, listen, thank you so much. I just want to recap real quick. The top things we hit: listen to the Spirit, believe God, value transparency, financial transparency. Wendy, thank you for that adding that one, and create safety. Ron, you got anything before we close? Anything you want to say before we pray this thing out?
Have fun. Don't forget to have fun with all of this because the work is going to be there. So have fun and put yourself around some healthy couples.
Yes.
That'll hold you accountable. Like be around some healthy couples, and you know who they are, and you know the ones that that you don't need to be hanging around too much. That's going to make you, think some things that's going to be unhealthy for you. So be around some healthy couples.
Yeah, you already know, y'all. You already know. So, very good, man. Well, look, I'm going to thank you all for joining us tonight. Thanks for being here and jumping into this conversation with us a little bit. I'm going to pray and yeah, I'm gonna cut you guys loose. Let's pray, y'all. Heavenly Father, we come today just thanking you for being God. Thank you for this time. We just ask that for all couples who are in business, thinking about being in business together. We just ask that they first seek you, God, and listen carefully to your instruction and to follow only you. We ask that you bless them with prosperity, but bless them with peace, God. Help us to use our marriage to make everything else that we do stronger and allow nothing else to come into our marriage that may weaken it. So we just ask that you bless all those who are working together and trying to figure it out and be with them. Thank you for Ron Harvey and for Linda Harvey and for all they've been through our lives and what they mean to so many. And I ask that you bring Wendy back down the road and everyone from our area safely back on their trip. So, and just bless everyone here. But God bless their homes, bless their families, be with them always. And we'll be sure to give you all the honor, all the glory, and all the praise. We thank you. We love you. Pray these and all blessings in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, Ronald Harvey, man. Look, thank you very
Appreciate you,
much.
brother.
Appreciate you, man. We'll see you. I guess I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd rather see you tomorrow. All
All right,
right.
sir. Later,
All
man.
right, bye.
So, Are you not entertained? Ron Harvey, man, that's my guy, and so just really, really appreciate everything that he's meant for us in our lives, and you know, if you are if you're kind of working through trying to figure some things out in that space, then I just want to let you know it can be all right. It will be all right, and in fact, it's already done. So y'all have a good night. Wendy, get home, girl. I miss you. It's been too long. So appreciate y'all. Love y'all. We'll see you next week in the marriage shop. Good night, everybody.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's your boy Jason. I'm in the mood. Love. Lately I've been constantly thinking about you, babe. You drive me crazy. Yeah. And girl, I want this. Got me all up in my feelings. Oh, what a feeling, yeah. I know the first time I laid eyes on you, you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant, and I still can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, baby. I love your kindness, I love your confidence. Ooh, you're the finest. So glad you're mine, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't wanna be with nobody else. Give me your love, that's all the wealth I need. Baby, you're priceless to me, yeah. To love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, yeah. Promise I'ma be around. I'ma always hold you down. Won't you come and hold me now? Won't you come and hold me now? I just got a new coupe. Yeah, I know I got a whip, but I always keep it down with you. Yeah. And I know they see, girl, you're my queen. And beauty speaks for itself loud and clear, yeah. So throw it in the air. It's the sweetest sound to follow my ear. And I want the world to know I'll love you forever. And that's a long time, baby.